Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 24th, 2020 edition of the economics class here at Red Bank High School. So just a couple of things, guys, I wanted to kind of make you aware of for everything else. So if you're in your Google Classroom, what I have dropped in today is the stuff for pretty much this next week's worth of assignments. I'm going to go through all of them here in just a little bit so you guys can see just a little bit more about what the deal is with everything else kind of going on. So some updates, guys. Again, food delivery via buses. All right, I believe they're only going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for food delivery. So if you're interested in that, they're going by the elementary school routes. Make sure you have somebody who is a child that is present to be able to get your food for a couple of days and everything else. Chromebook hours, they've kind of dwindled this down to do just a couple of days a week. I believe it's only Monday and Wednesday now that they're doing Chromebook hours. Miss Brown is. So as of right now, what we've got going on is still planning to be back Monday, April 13th after spring break was regularly scheduled. No changes there. Again, no updates on prom, no updates on graduation, anything else of that particular sort. So here's what you guys have starting today. We're going to move from Section 1 into Section 2. One of the things I did, guys, as I told you I would, we do have a lot of different things going on with overall grading. I did go ahead and grade Sections 1 stuff, so if you haven't turned that in, you need to turn that in as soon as possible. That way I can get the stuff read, graded, and put in PowerSchool as fast as I possibly can. Okay, so again, that's just kind of going into everything else kind of in between. So today, guys, we're going to start Section 2. And you do have some more papers and stuff that are at the school. I also made an easier digital copy for you guys to be able to read through today. Few things that I was basically told is having some trouble with some of the Google videos I've been dropping in. I'm going to try to add some YouTube links to this to be able to help with all that as well. So if you're having trouble kind of watching the stuff through Google, you're going to have some YouTube links to be able to do that at the same time. All right, so hopefully that'll clear up any kind of confusion or any kind of issues you may have regarding the classes and what's going on with it. So in this set of assignments, all right, a couple things I just wanted to kind of go through so you guys can kind of see a couple of details that go along with it. You've got Section 2 eFolio, just like you guys did last time. You've got Section 2 review. Those are the two online assignments you can go ahead and do to be able to go ahead and have your points to get graded and everything else. So you can see it's got 4 sections on it right there, 2.1 through 2.4. Then you have a Google Doc review right there that you can go through. The next thing that is new, guys, that I added, at least just to help, I gave you guys the pages, the paperwork. Some of you guys sent in your copies online. That's awesome. Again, if you want an actual hard copy, you're going to have to go to the school in order to get this hard copy set of papers right now. If you don't have those sets of papers or you want them, so here's what I did to make it easier if you'd like to still go this route to get credit for Section 2. So now you've got the PDF copy. You can write answers down on paper, email them to me, do all that stuff if you want to. That's fine. The next thing that I did to make life a little bit easier for you guys is I created a Google Doc right here with those pages already inserted or dropped in there, and then I gave you boxes over here on the right hand side where you can type in your answers. So if you want to go this route of doing the papers, all right, you can see I've given you questions and answers over here, or excuse me, answer boxes on the right hand side for all of these pages for what you need to do. So now you have a couple of ways you can do this. You can write out your answers on paper, or you can do this Google Doc that is attached for everything else to help you out. And as always, I try to add in Google slideshows that'll help you out with basic just notes and details that'll give you answers to these questions. And then you have the online economics textbook that you can go through, scroll through on a phone or whatever device you may have. So this is just my way of trying to go through, guys, and help you out as far as making it easier to turn in those papers if you'd like to. Again, the only way you're going to be able to get the physical hard copy paper right now is at the school. They have paper copies you can send them an email or call them and ask to get that mailed to you, or you can go by the schoolhouse from 10 to 12 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to be able to kind of grab those. All right, so that's kind of the deal that's going on. So you still have paper packets you can do. If you want to print this out, I know that's pretty costly. You can. So that's what you can do. But what I also gave you guys is I created a Google Doc that has those pages already dropped in there, and you can answer those questions on the right side while you're reading those pages at the exact same time. So I tried to make it easier to keep doing the packets, but it's like kind of an online paper hybrid that I created using Google Docs the last couple of days. Hopefully that'll make things easier. But again, that's kind of the second part of that you guys have there with the paper packet. So remember, all right, you can do the eFolio Google Sheet and the Review Google Doc. That'll get you all your stuff for Section 2, test grade, daily grade, or you can just do the paper packet, which is made up of about like 8 to 10 pages, multiple choice, vocabulary, note type thing, and that'll get you both your grades for Section 2 as well. So that's the deal. Hopefully that makes it a little easier. I got a lot of feedback, guys, about videos and things like that, adding YouTube stuff. So hopefully this makes it a little easier for you guys to answer that in the days to come. So you got an eFolio with about 4 different assignments I'll go through today. And then you have the Google Doc 2 review. And then you've got the paperwork packet options that are down there to be able to do. And again, do the paper packet, you're fine. Or do the top 2 Google things that are added here. And hopefully no issues there, all right, in the days to come. Okay, so that's what was dropped in earlier this morning for you guys to look at. So for Section 2, guys, here's the basic deal where we're at for economics going forward and kind of moving into this next part. So the key thing that we talked about here, guys, is the idea of creating a circle, creating different people, the government, places, things that kind of do things back and forth to answer questions, okay? In our society and on planet Earth, we have about 196 countries. Each one of those countries basically is looking to answer those 3 questions of what, how, and who, and everything else. What has basically been set up over the years is what we call these isms: capitalism, communism, socialism, and everything else. So we talked a little bit about it in government, but it's more of an economic system than a government system, okay? It's basically looking at this idea of how much government, how much freedom, all right, is involved in these different kinds of things. So this is what we're going to kind of look at moving forward, is basically the idea of what it is that countries do to get people what they want. That is the study of economics. How does everybody get what they want, or everything else? So again, when we go back and look at it, those 3 basic questions: what is it that is going to be made, how's it going to be made, and who's basically going to get this stuff at the end of the day? Those were the basic 3 questions. And when you break it down into all of these different things, guys, there are really 4 systems right now in use with the 196 plus countries that basically make up planet Earth. So here are the 4 that are basically the big thing, and this will be the only thing we talk about today. The first one is what's called traditional economies. This is basically old school, living off the land, that kind of thing. This is where you basically grow up being a farmer, being involved with agriculture, making your own clothes, making your own food, and that's pretty much it. It's based off habits, customs, rituals. You did what your father, your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather did for literally tens, hundreds of years down the line. So that's kind of the deal. Out of the 196, almost 200 countries on planet Earth, there are maybe 5. There's not even a handful of countries that are true traditional economies left. So if you want to keep it simple, it's old school, living off the land. That's basically what you do with a traditional economy. The next one is what we call centrally planned or command economies. Okay, command economies is basically where a country has a government that tells everybody what to do, and they control everything. Most people think the United States is a command economy. We are not. If we were a true command economy, literally the government would tell you from day one what you're going to do for a living, where you're going to spend your money, what you can and cannot do with everything. So this is a command economy. Most people would think of Cuba, China, Russia, those kind of things, where government controls all forms and everything that is involved with day-to-day regular life. The next one, this is what we call free market economies. This is where you have decisions are based on individual freedom. So this is where you have a government doesn't really play a factor in how people want to get things in life. It's based on a lot of individual freedom. It's based on a lot of different changing parts. And probably the biggest one that is out there with free market is India, where literally the government doesn't play a role in business. There's no licensing or that kind of stuff. The government stays out of money and businesses and those things. So that's what we call a market economy. Then what you have in a mixed economy, guys, is where you have government involvement, but you still have freedom. This is what the United States is. You're allowed to do anything you want in the United States as long as you follow the rules, you pay for stuff, you have licenses and everything else. If you guys wanted to go out today and create your own app and sell it on Apple Store or Google or whatever it is, you have to have a basic procedure and you have to pay a fee in order to get that app onto a phone and get downloaded. You can't just do it without paying something, okay? So there is some kind of government involvement when it comes to how things are set up here in the entire United States. So these are the four main types. You have traditional, which is old school, living off the land. That's all you know. You're farmers. You make your own food, your own clothes. That really doesn't exist a whole lot anymore. Command economies, it's all government all the time. Market economies is all about individual freedom with no government involvement. And then mixed economies is limited freedom with government basically playing a factor in this. So if you're looking at some of the assignments, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the e-folio for today. On 2.1 with this system setup, what it has in here, guys, is basically 5 stories. And I wanted you guys to break down, number one, what's happening in the story, and then what kind of system is being used here. Traditional, command, market, or mixed. So again, if it's traditional, it's going to be, and I'll just be brutally honest, it's going to be basically Aborigines, those kind of people that are living off the grid and those kind of things. And there are still some of those that are out there, guys, where people still don't live off electricity. They have no internet. They don't know anything else as far as living off the land and making that kind of stuff. Command would basically be an example of the government forcing its rule on everything. Market would be basically individual freedom ruling, and there's really no government rules or involvement. And then mixed, there's limitations. You're allowed to do stuff, but there's only so far you can go at the end of this. So it's just 4 or 5 different news stories, guys, where you break down certain things and trying to figure out which one of the 4 systems that countries use and basically get this. So like, for example, if you have North Udawa residents want to get rid of a sewage plant, okay, this is an idea where the local sewage treatment plant a couple years ago wanted to build a new sewage plant in Udawa. People in Udawa did not like this. So they basically looked at this idea of they wanted to go in and vote as to whether or not this new company can build a sewage plant here in Udawa, Tennessee. And this would be a prime example, guys, of what we call a mixed economy. A lot of people think it's command because they think it's some kind of like government that's coming in and forcing a sewage plant in Udawa. So it's not. It's mixed because you have a business that's trying to get into a new sewage plant, but it's being voted out. So the government is trying to do something, but it has limitations. That's where you have some freedom and choice, but you also have government playing a factor. So this is what's basically looked at. You got traditional, old school off the land, living off the land stuff, command, then market, and mix. You're just trying to match up all those things on 2.1. All right, the next part here, just kind of going through all these different kinds of things, and I'll just go through the first couple of pages. So if you have this document and everything else, you'll notice it says Economics, Section 2, Week 2, March 23rd through the 27th. It'll be due on the 30th, which will be that following Monday. So if you go through this and you're looking at page 7, all right, it says page 7, little 7 circled there in the upper right-hand corner. Description of economic system. Again, if you're doing this, easiest way I can do this, okay, just so you guys can see this, living off the land, that would probably be the easiest way you could write that down. All right, command economies, okay, you do this, all government, all the time. Another easy way to kind of go through this and look at it. Market economy, all right. So you have individual freedom with limited government. That'd be a couple easy answers there you could have. Advantages, disadvantages of all this. So this is where you have to write some things in. Traditional economy advantages, a lot of individual freedom, a lot of different things to kind of do what you want. Disadvantages, you're going to have to make everything. So it's going to be on you to figure out food, clothing, shelter, all that. Command, a lot of people say, hey, you don't have to make any decisions. That's an advantage. Disadvantage, you're being told what to do all the time. Market economy, this is where you're going to have to figure out some advantages and disadvantages, all right, for yourself. The next one right here, breaking down a command economy yet again. So what you've got here, guys, is about 3 or 4 different things with centrally planned economies, socialism, communism, and then authoritarian, aka dictatorship. All you have to do is basically go through and plug in these 4 vocabulary words with all of these different things. So like for command, if you're trying to do synonyms, that would be like centrally planned economy there for number 2. For like number 1, if you're trying to do a command economy, all right, you could put centrally planned. So you notice some of these are going to be used more than once. Then on the different types, there's 2 types of isms we'll get into tomorrow, communism, socialism, and everything else. So then if you break down communism and socialism, all right, overall, that's kind of the basis of what we'll talk about tomorrow. So the first thing you probably could answer today is these types of economies. All right, break those 3 things down that you have with all these other different kinds of stuff and answer that. Tomorrow, I'll go through these isms, communism, socialism, capitalism, everything else kind of in between. Okay, so that should pretty much do it for day 1, section 2. So if you're doing the eFolio, you should be able to do 2.1 if you want to try to get ahead. All right, I tried to help you guys out with some of that tomorrow. We'll get into all that as the days go on and try to break that down a little bit more as time moves on as well. All right, so make sure you guys have all that kind of in hand for everything else that goes along with it. I will go through the papers more and more with these red answers, all right, to help you guys out if you're planning to do that. So again, one more time so you guys can see this, you got a couple of new things here. Okay, you still got the eFolio, you got the review, the paperwork packet. If you open this up, there it is. You can write in your answers on a sheet of paper, email them to me if you want. The other thing that I gave you guys, again, to help you out so you guys can see this, is an answer document. There's the pages. Okay, there are the answer boxes over there to the right-hand side, and just type in your answers without too many delay, and you should be able to just turn that in if you choose to do so. But remember, it's either or, not both. If you do both, I'll take whichever grade you get is higher at the end. But you can do the paper packet, or you can do the folio and Google Doc review. But again, that's your call. All right, so that is Economics 2.1, Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. Hope this finds you well. Again, guys, please make sure you're either watching this to help yourself out, or hit me up in the afternoon with the Coach Bowman chat. So if you have questions, I can give you answers to these things without too many issues. Again, this is the way it's going to be for this week and all the way up until Friday, April 3rd of next week. Okay, so we're going to have some things that you'll have to turn in before spring break. Spring break will come and go, and we'll see what the decisions are right after that. So you've got this week and most of next week. This is the way we're going to be doing stuff. All right, so check these things out. Hopefully you're not having too many issues, and talk to you this afternoon or more tomorrow.